Peace. Welcome to Akin-Bey Prison Stories. Today's story is called The New Guy Who Knew Everything. Now, if you've ever been inside a prison, you know there is one thing every old-timer watches carefully. The new arrivals. Every week, new people come through those doors. Some are scared, some are confused, some just want to stay out of trouble. And then there are the ones who think they already know everything. This story is about one of those guys. I remember the day he arrived. The officers brought about 15 new inmates into the dorm. Most of them were quiet, looking around, trying to figure out where they were, trying to figure out who was who. But there was one guy who immediately stood out. He was loud, real loud. Before his property was even unpacked, he was telling people what he was going to do, who he used to run with, how tough he was, how nobody was going to tell him what to do. I remember sitting at a table watching, and I looked over at another inmate. We both started laughing, not because the guy was funny, because we had seen this movie before many times. You see, prison has a way of humbling people. The loudest person in the room is rarely the person everybody respects. And the new guy kept talking, hour after hour, a story after story. Every story sounded bigger than the last. According to him, he had fought everybody, beat everybody, controlled everything. He was basically a superhero, at least in his own mind. The old timers didn't argue with him. They didn't challenge him. They didn't even interrupt him. They just listened and waited. That's another thing about prison. People don't always correct you. Sometimes they just let time do it. About 3 days later, the new guy got himself into trouble. Nothing major. At first, he started arguing with another inmate over a chair. Now, from the outside, yeah, that sounds silly, but inside prison, people argue over everything. Television channels, phones, tables, seats, respect. The argument started small. Then it grew. Voices got louder. People started looking over. The dorm became quiet. Everybody could feel where things were heading. The new guy was talking tough, real tough, but something was different this time. The other inmate wasn't talking much. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't threatening. He just stood there looking at him, calm, very calm. And that's when I knew the new guy had made a mistake. The toughest people usually don't do a lot of talking. The loud people talk. The dangerous people observe. Few moments later, the officer stepped in. The argument ended. Everybody went back to their business. Problem solved, or so the new guy thought. The next morning, his attitude had changed a lot. He wasn't walking around making speeches anymore. He wasn't telling everybody how tough he was. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't performing. He was quiet, very quiet. Word had reached him overnight. The inmate he had argued with was somebody he should have left alone. Nothing happened. No fight, no drama, no violence, just information. And information can change everything. For the first time, the new guy started paying attention. He started listening more than talking. He started observing more than bragging. And honestly, that's when he finally began learning how prison worked. A few weeks later, he was a completely different person. Still confident, still respectful, but no longer trying to prove something every 5 minutes. And that's a lesson I've seen over and over again. Whether you're in prison or out here in the world, sometimes the smartest person in the room is the person doing the least talking. Sometimes the strongest person is the person who doesn't need everybody to know it. And sometimes life teaches lessons that pride refuses to learn. That's today's prison story. Until next time, peace.